Hi, I'm Brianna.
And I'm Akira.
And you're watching
Dante's Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? For those of us that were under the impression that Canelo Alvarez would most likely be moving to middleweight and facing Willie Monroe next, since Willie Monroe just fought on his undercard and beat Gabe Rosado, Canelo Alvarez's trainer, he made it very clear that they have no intentions of ever facing Willie Monroe. Matter of fact, what he said was really informative. I mean, it gives you a really good insight of what Team Canelo Alvarez thinks about their fighter, Canelo. Let me go ahead and read what Reynoso, Canelo's trainer, actually had to say. Quote, "Canelo is never going to face Willie Monroe. He doesn't fight or allows a fight to happen. You have to keep going after him to catch him. If that's the case, to go up against that kind of style, it's better for us to fight Edeslani Lara." End quote. This was really, really interesting that he said this. To me, it was a huge admission at best. Because what Reynoso just basically said in microcosm is they want the video game to be on easy mode. They don't want it to be on difficult mode. They don't want it to be on normal mode. They want it to be on easy mode. For those of you guys who have played video games before, you know what I'm talking about. You play a video game, and before that game starts, it gives you an option of what mode you want to play the game on. Do you want to play it on normal mode, or do you want to play it on very hard mode, or easy mode, or the easiest mode? And what Reynoso just basically said was his fighter, he does not believe his fighter is good enough to adjust to different styles in the ring. He's also saying he believes that Canelo Alvarez, he doesn't have the footwork or the foot movement to keep up with boxers that have great foot movement. This is pretty much what Reynoso is telling us. I mean, you guys have to think about this for a second. When you say we'll have to chase him or we have to force him to fight, he's not the kind of guy that will allow a fight to happen, etc., etc. Why do you think Mike Tyson was so successful? Have you ever thought about that? You would never hear Mike Tyson say, "Oh, I don't want to fight that guy because he's going to make it difficult. He's going to prevent a fight from breaking out." You would never hear Mike Tyson say anything like that. What's so ironic is the majority of opponents that Mike Tyson faced, they were movers in the ring. And Mike Tyson was still getting first round, second round, third round knockouts against guys that did nothing but move. Why? Because Mike Tyson, he had foot speed, knew how to cut off the ring, but most importantly, Mike Tyson was a very intelligent fighter. He was a very intelligent fighter, very skilled. That means he could figure out problems. He was very versatile in the ring. And this is something that Canelo Alvarez, according to his trainer, lacks: versatility. If you're telling a football team the only way you'll play against that team is if they promise not to throw the ball, because you guys prefer football teams to only run the ball, or vice versa. I mean, can you imagine someone saying something like that? Can you imagine a football team or the head coach saying, "We're not going to play that football team because their defense is too good, so they're not going to allow us to score goals and make this a really exciting football match where we're going back and forth scoring touchdowns"? Can you guys imagine how ridiculous that would sound? Well, that is exactly what Canelo Alvarez's trainer just said right now. It's really interesting because I was always taught you bang the boxer and you box the banger. Floyd Mayweather is someone who does that very well. I remember when Floyd Mayweather fought against Charmaine Mitchell. Charmaine Mitchell was pretty much the Edeslandi Lara in that division at the time. And when I say Edeslandi Lara, I'm not saying they fought exactly the same, but like Edeslandi Lara, Charmaine Mitchell, he was a southpaw and he used a lot of foot movement in the ring. You know what Floyd Mayweather did in that fight? Floyd Mayweather, he banged the boxer. Floyd Mayweather, he came in that fight aggressive as hell. He was extremely aggressive. He was all over Charmaine Mitchell, not giving Charmaine Mitchell a time to think, a time to breathe in the fight. And ultimately, Floyd Mayweather knocked him out. Floyd Mayweather knew what to do when an opponent was in the ring doing nothing but moving around, trying to counterpunch, etc., etc. And you know what, speaking of counterpunching, what makes this, this comment that Reynoso just made, what makes it so hypocritical is the fact that Canelo Alvarez, he said it himself on many occasions. He just said it after the Liam Smith fight. He said, I'm a counterpuncher. So when I have an opponent who's coming forward, etc., etc., he pretty much said, those type of fighters are tailor-made for my counterpunching style. So that sounds kind of selfish to me. It's okay for Canelo Alvarez to move around the ring, counterpunch, and try not to get hit. Oh, but you don't want your opponents to do that? Yeah, that kind of sounds selfish to me. What this admission of Reynoso's also explains is why Canelo Alvarez was facing a Liam Smith, who we all know comes straight forward and was the weakest guy at the junior middleweight division when it comes to champions, as opposed to Canelo facing the tougher, more athletic fighters like a Demetrius Andrade, Jamal Charlo, Jamel Charlo, Julian Rock Williams, etc., etc. What Canelo's trainer basically just told us is they intend and they plan on not facing any fighters that has athleticism, that has rhythm, that has a style similar to Floyd Mayweather, Trout, Lara, and the list just goes on and on and on. It's going to be pretty damn difficult to really be taken serious if you're going to basically just avoid the best fighters in whatever division you're in just because you can't deal with a football team that may pass the ball. You see what I'm saying? It sounds ridiculous, and it is a bad look for Team Canelo. What are you going to do? Who are you going to fight? Yeah, that's the good thing about this news, though, because, I didn't really have a problem with Canelo moving up to middleweight in his next fight to possibly challenge Willie Monroe, especially if the fight was on regular HBO. Now, it's different if they would have tried to sell that as a pay-per-view fight. But the point I'm making is I wouldn't have had a problem with Canelo facing Willie Monroe next. But there are much better opponents, of course, for Canelo Alvarez to face. But once again, this puts Canelo in a tough situation because if you're trying to avoid fighters that move in the ring, if you're trying to avoid slick fighters or whatever the case may be, how are you going to avoid them all? If you move up to middleweight, you have fighters like Billy Joe Saunders, you have fighters like Danny Jacobs, Willie Monroe. All of those fighters are counterpunchers. They move around the ring, etc., etc. When it comes to Danny Jacobs, he's a knockout artist that can move around the ring, or he can fight you on the inside. So now, the plot thickens, because the question is, if Canelo is not going to fight against Willie Monroe next, who does he fight? Who does he fight? Especially at middleweight. Who can he fight that is better than a Willie Monroe when it comes to moving up to the middleweight division? Or if he stays at 154. If Canelo Alvarez stays at 154, the only person he should be facing next is Demetrius Andrade. That's the only fight that makes sense, unless he's going to give Lara a rematch, which we know that's not going to happen. So we'll see, man. We'll see what Canelo Alvarez does next. Once again, They're saying that he's not going to fight against Willie Monroe next. Hopefully that means Canelo Alvarez is going to face an opponent better than Willie Monroe. I wouldn't bet the house on that, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
This is Bobby, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.